Hello everybody, welcome to Jenn's Build Your Home Gym Instructional Tutorial. I'm your host Jenn. So follow along if you're interested in starting a home gym, or if you already started dabbling in it but don't know where to go from there, or if it's 5 years in the future. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy this video. So the first piece typically that starts a home gym, and aside, if you're never really looking to build much of a home gym, I'm sure a lot of people do it with the dumbbells and the bench, and that's all she wrote. If you're actually looking to start a home gym and want to continue to expand and have space and a budget and all that kind of stuff, if you're hyped about it and you want it to grow, typically you're going to sort of build it around your squat rack. And so when making the decision about the squat rack, ultimately, there's going to be things that you need to take into consideration. One, of course, is the upright size and the hole size and compatible attachments, because that might not be the second you buy the squat rack, but down the road, you will definitely regret if you have a squat rack that does not have a lot of compatible attachments. Hence this 2x2 with 1-inch holes. It does not go with any of the fun attachments that you can get at the place that I work, which is Bells of Steel, and that bothers me all the time. But I'll explain my thought process when purchasing it and why I ended up buying this one anyway. So a big factor, especially if you're building a home gym in a basement, is if you have low ceilings. So my problem is that the 72-inch squat racks were too short for me doing pull-ups on them. And even more so now that I'm really into these ring pull-ups, if this was a lot shorter, I do not want to be like pulling myself from like down here. It's just too awkward. I needed something taller. But the next option up was like 84 and a half inches, which would mean that when I was doing pull-ups, my head would be going into the ceiling. And if you want to know why there's a hole in the ceiling, it's because I was going to purchase a taller squat rack and thought that I could just pop my head into that hole with every rep, which I really don't know how that would have gone. This was the only squat rack that I found that was like this height of 80 inches. So that is why ultimately I purchased this one. But again, I don't know if maybe I should have looked into the future and known about the attachment issues, but if you have a taller ceiling or you don't care that much about being straight legs with your pull-ups or whatever, then you might want to go with something that has more compatible hole sizing. So that's something that to take into consideration. Obviously, size, budget, add-ons, that's the whole kit and caboodle pretty much right there. So yes, I love the height. That is what I'll say about this. I love the height of it. This is the perfect height for my basement and what I want to do on it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of things, like I really wanted to buy like the seal road pad attachment and that kind of thing that I won't be able to fit in this. So it's something that maybe down the road I may replace this squat rack with a new squat rack from Bells of Steel. Previously, I had a half rack from Squat Racks Canada, which was a 3x3 uprights and 72 inches. Would have been more compatible with the Bells of Steel line, but then I got this one. Then I got the job at Bells of Steel, and I thought, oh shit, I don't have the energy right now to do a third squat rack already. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with this. It just doesn't have great attachments. So things to consider: height, space, and attachments when you are getting your squat rack. So this is kind of where I feel like the gym is born, because everything sort of then surrounds this, and if you're lucky, attaches to it and that kind of thing, as well as then of course a lot of your main movements that you're going to do are going to be in the squat rack. If you're trying to do a home gym, typically you're going to start out with compound movements, because a whole bunch of machines is not normally what you start with in a home gym. So moving on, the thing that ends up going with your squat rack is your barbell. So if you want to look over here, obviously I have quite the collection of barbells. And again, when you're making the decision about barbells, I guess you can also see here that I have my newly added SS4 on my SSB bar. I love this barbell. I'll talk about that in a moment. But again, you're not going to start with a whole bunch of specialty bars. You're probably going to just start with your standard barbell. So take into consideration, what are the main things that you're going to do with your barbell? Do you care about powerlifting? Do you care about strength? Because then you're probably going to want like a standard power bar. Again, this is something when I was first starting out, I bought a woman's Olympic barbell because I thought all I want is something narrow for my tiny little hands to grip onto. But then I switched over to a power bar and I've never looked back since. I almost never used this barbell. It's a fine barbell, but the power bar, it has less whip when you're doing those powerlifting movements. So for squatting, benching, even military press, I feel a lot stronger using the correct barbell. I think a lot of people just use the Olympic barbell because they don't recognize it, or it's just a more common barbell that you see. But if your main thing is going to be like the compound movements, you're probably going to want to start with a power bar if that's your main thing. I mean, keep in mind the knurling is quite aggressive. If you're newer to lifting, you might find that knurling is a little bit too much for your hands. Then you might want something simpler like a utility barbell, something like that to get yourself started. But I mean, if you're already pretty much into powerlifting, you've been doing it in the gym, and you're starting your home gym, you're probably just going to want to start with a power bar instead of wasting time getting Olympic bar. You want Olympic bar if you're going to do Olympic lifts. That's kind of the bottom line. This one, you'll notice here, this is long. This, if you want to come and get like a super close-up shot, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. This is actually a specific deadlifting barbell, and the knurling, they call it like volcanic. It's like such intense knurling, even more than my power bar. It's a beautiful barbell. It's just unfortunate I don't really do the deadlifting anymore. But this is a very, very beautiful bar. Again, that's way, way down the line in your, home gym journey, is to start to get very, very specific with your barbells. As your lifting journey takes shape, so will your home gym journey. And so then I bring you to my next point, this SS4. I love this barbell. I like this version. I've tried other SSBs. I've had the SS3. I love this one because it's lighter. Lots of times the SSB bars, wherever you get them, are like 55, 65 pounds. And for some people, that might not be awkward to maneuver. For me, it was hard just to get that barbell onto the J-cups because it was so heavy, and I had to like bump it up on my leg. And because normally you can just curl a barbell. Well, if it's 65 pounds, I don't have the strongest biceps, and that made it awkward. This SS4 is only 45.6 pounds to be exact, and I love it. I didn't know how things were going to go, but I've started, as you guys, if you watch my videos, I've started really, really getting into Hatfield squats and doing Bulgarians with it, and not holding onto the handles and holding onto the handles on the rack. And it's totally changed my leg day to have this work out the exact way that I intended it to. So super happy with that purchase. But again, that's far down the road. But things that you can think about as you're building things, it starts with the basics of the basic rack, the basic plates, the basic barbell, and then it can expand to things. And there's so many more exercises that you can do when you get, specialty bars and attachments in that. And as well, you guys can see here, this is my newest specialty barbell, my Nemesis bar. Today was the first day that I used it. It's a fun way to add some spicy new things to my upper body workouts. And just little things like that can add so many more exercises. Just having a simple press feel different means a lot when you've been working out for 25 years. And it's like you can do so many things with a straight bar. 25 years of that is something that is thrilling to me. So when you get to that point, just think specialty bars actually do make you more excited to work out again if you feel like you've lost the spark a little bit. Next, you might want to think about getting a bench. So this is my buzzsaw bench. I've talked about it before. I've talked about how heavy duty it is. Again, if you're thinking about benches, you have to think about, budget and how much you want to get out of the bench. So obviously if you get an adjustable bench, you're going to have a lot more exercise selection than if you just get a standard, kind of cheap flat bench. So it is kind of something to think about, is do you want to splurge on the bench at the beginning, because it could save you from having to repurchase benches down the line. If I had just gotten a cheap flat bench, as you can see here, well, there's not really that many things that I do with this. Aside from using it to support my back leg when I'm doing Bulgarian split squats, and I still move it into my squat rack when I'm doing bench, or if I'm doing Nemesis bench, because this is such a heavy duty bench, it's hard for me to move around. But when you're getting something that's adjustable like this, there's a lot of different exercises that you can do with it, which means it can kind of end up being more bang for your buck if you're starting out as well too. This one obviously includes a leg extension leg curl, something I've talked about before. So not only am I doing awesome upper body movements like incline dumbbell press, which is a staple and it's a really great movement, but I'm also doing leg extension and leg curls. So it's a leg machine and it's an upper body machine in one. So for me, this was worth the cost because of how much stuff I get out of it. versus if I had only just stuck with like a $90 really cheap bench that I'm basically using, as I said, to support my legs. So something to consider when you're purchasing your bench. How much do you want to get out of it? Are you going to think you're going to replace it in a year because you realize it's boring and it doesn't do enough? It's too wobbly. It doesn't have the stability that you need. If you're really into benching, if you get a cheap bench, is it going to be wide enough if you have a wider back? All those things to consider when purchasing a bench. You might think it's the easiest decision, but the right bench is kind of crucial. And again, it kind of all goes in line with the squat rack, the barbells, the bench. I just recommend really thinking about what bench you want to get, because you don't want to end up having to buy multiple benches. They also take up space, and this one fits the bill for many different things. So now I move on to, again, this is probably something that you might add down the road. You start with the squat rack, you go to barbells, you go to a bench. Something you're going to want to get is a cable tower, because I'm promising you, you are going to miss that machine cable feel that you get at a gym. As much as you love compound movements, and I love my compound movements, I miss that addictive mind-muscle connection, getting lost in the moment cable feel. And so I purchased a cable tower. And this one, I will say, this one was probably an impulsive decision. This was the cheapest, one of the cheapest cable towers that I saw on Amazon. And I mean, it's fine for now. I know I'm going to have to get a better version of this. I wished I had been more patient. The thing is that there's plenty of ones from Bells of Steel that have a great price point, similar price point to this, but I wanted it to arrive like yesterday. I wanted it to arrive immediately. I didn't want to have to wait. And that is how jonesing I was for a cable feel. And so don't let your gym get to that point. You're going to be jonesing for a cable feel. Think about it in advance, because again, there are cable towers from Bells of Steel that are compatible with squat rack attachments and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of like adjustability and different things that you can span on the cable tower. Similar to the bench, there's different things that you can do on this bench. I got a cable tower from Bell of Steel that had the awesome hole sizing or whatever, that had adjustments, and it wouldn't have mattered so much that my squat rack didn't have the right hole sizing or upright sizing for those attachments. I could have just done it with the cable tower instead. So, I mean, something to think about, I guess, with the cable tower is just, don't rush into it, because the cheap ones, you will know that they are cheap. But also, too, with healing height and how much stretch you're going to get, be mindful of how tall they are, and make sure that wherever you're sitting on it, and however high you can set it, that you're not cutting short on full range of motion, because it's super important for your back exercises, especially like your lat pull down or any kind of stretch back exercise, that you get like the full extension of your arms. So a lot of complaints that people have is that it stops too soon. So they're not actually able to fully stretch their lats. I couldn't imagine how annoying it would be to do every single rep of a lat pull down without fully being able to stretch your lats. But I feel like this kind of just comes in a line after you've done the squat rack, the barbell, and the bench. You're going to be looking into cable towers. I would recommend getting something that's a little bit better quality for that, because you probably will get kind of frustrated with it, as I do occasionally with this one. I just know that probably down the line, not too far in the future, I'm going to get a better version of a cable tower, because I do a ton of stuff on here. And there's a lot of fun things you can do on here. I think another thing to consider is cable tower versus like lat pull down machine, because there are some cool lat pull down machines that are lat pull down low row mixed, sort of like that. You can do low row there. But the thing is that when you do that, you're going to be limiting a few exercise selection as well. If you only care about doing the lat pull down, that kind of stuff on it, you could also probably do tricep press downs and that sort of thing. With a regular cable tower, there's probably going to be more exercise selection, but a lot of y'all might not care at all about doing like cable ass kickbacks and that kind of thing. And maybe you do like the idea of like a dedicated lat pull down low row machine versus a cable tower. So that's another thing to think about if you're getting into cables and that sort of thing. Do you want a cable tower? Do you want a lat pull down machine? I think I love the way the lat pull down machine looks. It looks fantastic, but I still think when I upgrade or change, I'm just going to stick with a cable tower because of a little bit more versatility. But it depends on your size and your budget. If you have room for both or whatever, then wow. Then you probably are not watching this video. Anyways, then once you have like the basics, as I would say, then you're going to move into like the fun stuff that people are shocked to see that you have, is what I've kind of noticed with people. Like, most people do not have a chest supported row machine, And I love this. People have said I would never get a machine that just does back exercises alone. It's like, well, I love this machine. I would prefer not to have to tax out my lower back when I'm doing back exercises. I use this all the time, and I have for a couple of years. It was only a few $100s, and it doesn't take up a massive footprint. So no regrets about this bad boy. It does exactly what I need, and I'll let you know too that I had this before the cable tower. So just keep in mind that when I was dying for machine feel, this is as close as I got for quite a while, because I bought this long before I bought that. And then again, you move into really fun things like this awesome belt squat. If you want to, I'll move this so you can get a better view. This is my awesome belt squat machine. This has saved many a leg days. Again, I'm happy with this. Yes, it was a large footprint. Yes, it was over $1,000, but it's still pretty reasonably priced. And like I said, it saved a lot of leg days. And when I make decisions at the time, improving my leg days was a priority and has been a priority, which we will see in my upcoming machines, is that I cared a lot about my leg days. I felt like my upper body was progressing quite well, but that because I struggled with squats so much as a long femur squatter, I wasn't getting enough out of just basic barbell back squats. And so that's why I prioritize leg machines, whereas somebody else might be killing their squats and have massive legs, and they're more concerned about getting a machine upper body feel. So then you might not go this route. It's totally dependent on your goals, how well you can squat with a regular barbell, how much you feel regular barbell in your legs, or injuries or that kind of thing where you want some time to have less spinal loading, because obviously when you have it around here, you're not putting so much, pressure on your spine or whatever. So it can be good as well if you're injured and can't do basic back squats. And it's absolutely killer on your legs. It feels fantastic. So that's that. And again, we talk about leg machines. I have also added what I call my leg spreader, leg squisher. I know it has a more formal name, but I'm not going to deal with that. So this is something that I bought this for myself for Christmas. So, and again, this is like really, really far down the road when you're like, okay, I've gotten all of the staples and I have a little bit of room and a little bit of budget. This is like years down the road. And I decided to buy this because I had trouble connecting my muscle connection with my side ass, especially on one side. And I could tell that every time I squatted or when I was doing certain things, it was just really, really hard for me to strengthen and feel my side ass. Sorry, glute med. So this was important for me with things that I was personally struggling with and things that I wanted to improve upon, as well as going back to the addictive feel of using this machine in the gym and how much I loved doing like 100 rep sets on this machine and getting like such a killer burn and such a great mind muscle connection and having that muscle wake up. And I wanted that back. So that's why, again, this was a priority for me, where somebody else would say, I don't give a shit about this. You have to think about, what do you miss most from the real gym? And do you feel like when you've stopped doing those things that you used to do at the gym because you started working out at home, are you seeing any negative impacts? Well, I was seeing a negative impact because I wasn't able to fire that muscle as well. And I could tell descending my squat that my glute med wasn't firing on one side. And so this was important for me at the time. And again, I don't regret purchasing this. Bit of a bigger footprint, not crazy on the price point, and it's plate loaded. That's another thing. If you're getting things that are plate loaded, for the cost of that versus like a weight stack, because weight stack, well, you can't. The weights is just staying in that one machine. When you get plate loaded, yes, you have to buy a ton of plates, but then you use the plates on all of your machines. So that's another budget thing. If you want to go with like plate loaded versus weight stack, and all of my stuff is plate loaded, as you can tell. So I have a lot of plates. As another thing, you could probably see there's random plates on every single like piece of equipment, and that's me. That's kind of like, as I talked about in a previous video, and I'll mention here, is like my quality of life improvements. When I feel like my gym is pretty much done up until I may need to replace my cable tower, the quality of life improvements, well, the more plates I get, the less I have to change the plates, and the more that plates have their own home. And I find it annoying to change plates. So that's like slowly started accumulating more and more plates so that all of the plates are kind of where they live. And it's just little extra 10 pounders and stuff, or 25 pounders that I add on as I progress in that. But that's, again, down the road. Quality of life improvements is your final stop on building your home gym. And this is my newest piece of equipment. This awesome hack squat leg press. I could not be more thrilled. Yes, it's a huge footprint. Yes, it was. Well, I would say for me it was quite cheap because I work there, so I got a steal of a deal. But it's something you might have to think about because it's not a super cheap piece of equipment, and like I said, it's a quite a large footprint. I'm really, really happy with this piece of equipment. I spent some time thinking about it. I thought, what am I going to want to buy the second I have my staff discount? And it wasn't a rush decision. And I'm very, very happy that I made this decision because I've never really been able to comfortably use the leg press at the gym, given how short I am. This one fits me. I can get really, really deep in it. It doesn't stop or anything like that. It's also very safe. I can completely go to failure, and when it does stop, I can easily climb out of it. So there's pretty much no risk of failing on this machine. And it's such an addictive feeling, something I never experienced, the awesomeness of a leg press. Again, this was very, very, very far into my home gym journey, and I couldn't be more thrilled. The fact that I cannot believe I'm lucky enough to have a leg press hack squat in my home gym. But that goes to the point, as I was saying before, it's because I've been prioritizing leg day and improving my leg day because I felt my upper body was fine and I had enough selection for upper body. So that's why you might see, well, you only care about leg equipment. It's like, yeah, I definitely did, but now I'm satisfied. You heard it here first. I'm actually satisfied with my leg day and my leg development, my leg potential, and the equipment I have for legs. So before I sign off, I guess, something I never talk about, I also really, really like that back extension reverse hyper. That's another thing, of course, for leg day. I like that feel as well. Nobody really notices that being there. But the final thing that, no, sorry, I'm just falling on my ass machine. The final thing that I'll talk about, as I said, is the little quality of life improvements, because it's a lot cheaper to budget for just tiny things here and there that you don't really think about, but your gym is pretty much done and you realize, well, this will make my life easier. Not having to constantly change plates all the time makes my life easier. And simple things like this, just a simple pad that I got, has made lying leg curls a lot more comfortable for me because I found my hips were coming off the bench. It's also comfortable for me when I put that back straight and I do my leg extensions because I'm kind of short and I need to be a little bit more forward on the bench. Simple little things, and it's like, it feels like a completely new exercise because of how fantastic it feels now. So that'll be, like I said, the final stop of your home gym journey will be these like new little add-ons, and I promise you that these things are just as, I won't say just as exciting as things like the leg press, but it excites the hell out of me. And so it's almost like, the fun never stops because there's always little things that you can get, or even just getting new handles and stuff for your cable tower. It excites the hell out of me. And they always come up with new handles and it feels slightly different, or carabiners even. Sometimes they can come up with new carabiners and you get a better twist of it or whatever. There's always going to be like fun, exciting things down the road. So don't feel like, I guess I would say, if you're going to start building your home gym, it's very similar as to when you start building your body. It was like bro science says, the day you start going to the gym is the day you become forever small. And it's the same thing as the day that you start building your home gym is the day you realize you will never actually be done building your home gym. So I want to forewarn you, if you're about to start your journey, just know that you'll be doing it until you die. But if you guys have any questions, or if you like this video or whatever, let me know, and I'll see you later. Bye.